At my father's funeral, a stranger placed a hand on my shoulder and whispered, "Your father's death was no accident." When I turned to ask who they were, they had vanished. Hours later, I found a note in my pocket that read, "He knew too much. Now they're coming for you." That night, a black car parked outside my house, and it never left. My name's Rick. I'm 42, divorced, live alone just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma. I fix cars for a living. Been doing that since I dropped out of college after my mom died. My dad, Frank, raised me. He was strict but fair. Worked in aviation, mostly behind the scenes, maintenance, logistics, stuff like that. He never talked much about what he did exactly, but I figured he just didn't want to bring work home. He retired early 5 years ago and spent most of his time fishing or fixing things around the house. A month ago, he died in a car crash. They said he crossed the center line and slammed into an oncoming semi. Instant. No chance to react. The cops called it a freak accident. No drugs, no alcohol. Just one of those things, they said. I didn't question it. Not until the funeral. The funeral was held at Hope Chapel, same place we had my mom's. It was a gray Thursday. Windy, cold for spring. There weren't many people there, some of his old co-workers from the base, our neighbor Greg, a few folks from the VFW. I stood by the closed casket most of the time, staring at the polished wood like it would give me answers. That's when it happened. I felt a hand on my shoulder. Not friendly. Not soft. It was firm, like someone grabbing you to get your attention. Before I could turn fully, a man leaned in close and whispered, "Your father's death was no accident." I spun around. Nobody. I looked around the chapel. A couple of old men in dark suits were sitting near the back, and a woman I didn't know was crying in the third row. Nobody was near enough to whisper to me, let alone touch my shoulder. I even walked outside to check the parking lot. Nothing. I told myself it was grief playing tricks. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I wanted there to be more to it than a dumb crash. That night, around 9 or so, I got home. Changed into sweats, cracked a beer, sat on the couch. When I pulled my jeans off, something fell out of the back pocket. It was a small folded piece of paper. I didn't recognize it. Wasn't there when I got dressed. I opened it. Typed in the middle were just 10 words, "He knew too much. Now they're coming for you." I felt like the air got sucked out of the room. I read it 5 times. No signature. No name. Just a plain white scrap of paper, folded clean, like it had been put there on purpose. I didn't sleep much that night. At 11:30, I heard a slow engine out front. I looked through the curtains and saw a black car parked under the streetlight. It was just sitting there. Not moving. No headlights. Tinted windows. Couldn't see inside. No front plate. I waited. Half an hour. An hour. It didn't move. I thought about calling the cops, but what would I say? There's a car parked legally on my street? They wouldn't do a damn thing. I didn't sleep. I sat by the window all night. At some point around 5 a.m., it drove off. But it came back the next night. And the one after that. It's been outside every night since. It never gets out. Never moves. Just sits there, quiet, with those dark windows staring at my house. Something's not right. I know it now. My dad didn't just crash. And I'm pretty sure he didn't retire early just because he wanted more time to fish. He was hiding something. And now whatever he was hiding from, is watching me. I stared at the car. At me, sitting behind the wheel like this was all just part of some regular day. Like we hadn't both seen hell rise up out of the woods. Like there weren't 30 versions of my dead self closing in behind me. The girl in the passenger seat tilted her head. Same eyes. Same haunted look. But she didn't seem scared anymore. She looked like she was waiting for something. For me. I took a step forward. You're not real, I said. Other me smiled. Neither are you. Not in the way you think. Behind me, I heard the sound of bare feet, hundreds of them, slapping against the road. The grinning ones were moving fast now. No more slow steps. They were hungry. I could feel it. The trees shook. The cracked sky began to split wide open, and something started to reach through. Long, black fingers, thin as branches, sharp at the tips, grabbing at the air like they were searching for me. You left her, the girl said softly. I froze. What? She turned her head to me slowly, eyes like fire now. You left me in the woods. I backed up from the car. No, I didn't know. You followed us, I didn't know you were there. You did know, she whispered. You heard me scream. You ran anyway. The car door opened. Other me stepped out. You're not the only one with regrets, he said, walking toward me. You got to live the lie. I stayed here. I remembered everything. Every scream. Every burn. Every second we stood there, knowing we were the reason she died. I shook my head, breath coming fast. I didn't mean to. I was a kid. I was scared. You could have gone back, he said. You could have told the truth. But you buried it. You pretended it didn't happen. He was in front of me now. The grinning ones were almost on us. The sky opened, and that thing, that god or demon or whatever it was almost through. What do you want me to do? I asked. What makes it right? He leaned close. Burn it all again. Then he pressed something into my hand. A matchbox. I looked down. Inside, one match. The same kind I used as a kid. I looked up, and he was gone. So was the girl. So was the car. Just me now. And the pale, grinning faces were reaching out, just feet away. I struck the match. It lit fast. Too fast. The flame burned blue. I threw it to the road. The fire exploded. Not like a normal fire. This one screamed. The grinning ones caught first, skin bubbling, mouths warping into real screams this time. They reached for me, burning alive, clawing at each other, trying to get away. But the fire spread too fast. Too deep. It moved through them, through the trees, through the air itself. The sky shattered. The fingers withdrew, smoke trailing behind them like ink in water. I fell to my knees. I expected to burn too. But I didn't. The fire curled around me, like it knew me. Then it was gone. And I was alone. Back in my car. On a real road. The gas gauge read full. The GPS was back on, showing the route to the cabin. No blank screen. No message. Just trees on both sides, quiet and still. And in the seat next to me, nothing. But I knew she'd been there. I knew what I did. And I knew something else. I'd made them pay. But I wasn't innocent either. Not even close. I sat there for a long time, hands gripping the wheel, staring out at the quiet road ahead. It was all back to normal, except it wasn't. The trees looked the same, sure. But I could feel the difference. Like the forest had exhaled. Like something that had been holding its breath for years finally let go. And I had done that. But I didn't feel proud. I felt sick. Because the fire didn't just burn them. It burned what was left of my excuses. Of all the lies I told myself, I couldn't pretend anymore. She'd screamed. And I had run. Not because I didn't care. Because I did. Because I couldn't face what we'd done. I put the car in drive and started moving. Slowly. The road twisted the way it always had, winding through the trees toward the cabin. When I finally pulled up, the place looked exactly how I remembered it. Dust on the porch. Moss on the shingles. The old wooden swing still hanging from the frame. I stepped out and walked up the stairs. My uncle's truck was gone. I knew it would be. He hadn't been here for a long time. Maybe never. I opened the door. Inside, silence. No furniture. No pictures. Just ash. Coating the floor, the walls, the windows. Thick. Gray. Heavy. I walked through it like a ghost. I found the old fireplace, the one we'd sat in front of all those years ago. And sitting there, in the ashes, was a photo. I picked it up. It was burned around the edges, but I could still see the faces. Me. My uncle. And my sister. She was smiling. Not the haunted smile from before. A real one. From a real day. A day before we ruined everything. I stood there for a long time, holding that photo. And I made a choice. I walked outside, lit the last match I had left, and threw it into the cabin. This time I stayed and watched it burn. Not out of fear. Not out of guilt. But because it needed to be finished. All of it. When the flames died down, I left. I didn't look back. I drove all the way back to Atlanta without stopping. Not once. The GPS never glitched again. The trees stayed still. The road never vanished. And I never saw the pale ones again. But I still see her sometimes. In reflections. In dreams. She doesn't scream anymore. She just watches. Like she's making sure I remember. And I do. I remember everything. Because forgetting, that's what started it all.